A day to remember for the rest of your lives.
There's a great promise for all of you.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame and Extreme Networks present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program. With nearly 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 48 states around this country, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans how to huddle up during a time when we need to be united.
It's time for America to take a real deep dive. Not at no one else, but at yourself individually. If you want to change America, don't brush your teeth with your head down. Look at who you are and be the example. Be the example.
An opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. Single-parent homes, drug-infested neighborhoods, and poverty.
I grew up in a neighborhood that was considered one of the worst in America, and the household I grew up in was one of the worst in that neighborhood. By the time I was 20 years old, I knew at least 30 friends or family members who had lost their lives. Football became like a second parent to me. It taught me the things that my father wasn't there to teach me, and that my mother, as a struggling, single-parent woman, just didn't know to teach me.
But they learn how to live a life of character before pursuing their football careers. Today, you will learn you can do the same that they once did. Making good decisions can lead to a prosperous life both on and off the field. Your game for life has already begun. It's your decision whether or not you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
Every one of you can have a Hall of Fame life, whether or not you play football. You can be as great as you want to be. The Hall of Fame is all about integrity, character, and excellence. You have the opportunity to represent yourself that way. You determine your character.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, The Heart of a Hall of Famer.
Wow, where to begin? It's an honor being named into the Hall of Fame, to having those 10 letters added to your name. But it takes more than just yourself. It takes a village of people. And with me, it was truly a village, because no one gets to the top by themselves. Someone had to push, prod, and pull me to the next level. Help me walk through the tough steps and be forever grateful. Each man and woman has an opportunity to impact a human being as they walk through life. So when the opportunity presents itself in your life, choose to be the difference maker in this village. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, and with that, I'd like to welcome everybody to another edition of a Pro Football Hall of Fame Heart of a Hall of Famer series powered by Extreme Networks. We're coming to you live from Central Middle School in Kansas City, Missouri for today's program with our gold jacket Hall of Famer, Mr. Will Shields. My name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth and Education Manager at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And our mission at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence, all of which we're going to talk about today, and all of which affected Mr. Shields' career here, both on and off the field. Before we turn things over to Mr. Shields for some opening remarks, I do have some thank yous I'd like to send out. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our partners at Extreme Networks for all the wonderful things they do for us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, especially our Youth and Education Department, and for things they do for schools across the country. We couldn't do this program without their help. Secondly, I'd like to thank our folks here at Central Middle School, the students and staff here, as well as City Year, who helped us get the program up off the ground and here to talk to everybody today. Secondly, I'd like to thank the teachers and staff again here for allowing us to come to the school and those teachers and staff members we have tuning in today, allowing us to come into your classroom to talk to your students today. Lastly, and most importantly, probably I like to thank our students. You know, without you guys today, this program doesn't happen. You're the ones that are going to drive the programs today. You're the ones that are going to get to ask the questions here to Will Shields. So we're excited to hear what your questions are today. We thank you for joining in. For those of you on Facebook Live tuning in, if you have a question for Mr. Shields, don't hesitate to put it in the comment section there, and we'll try and get that inserted to the program throughout our next around an hour here. So without further ado, Gold Jacket Will Shields.
Well, thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it. First and foremost, you know, it's an honor to be here, to be a part of this group. I know as we are Hall of Famers, every time you look at a different guy, it's a different era of different guys. So some of you guys don't know who I am and what I've done or what we've gotten to be that point to where we do get this gold jacket. But every player that has done unique things on the field and off the field have sort of built that into what they want to be. They want to be the best player they can be, the best person they can be, and now be able to express to you how do you get the opportunity to be the next gold jacket or the future gold jacket, the person that's going to work hard to get to that next level. For me, it started in the small town of Lawton, Oklahoma. I was born in Fort Riley, Kansas, raised in Lawton, Oklahoma, went to school at Nebraska, and then ended up getting drafted here in the 3rd round to the Kansas City Chiefs. With that gave me an opportunity to change different lives across the board. What was really unique about it, I think right now, actually being here in Central Middle School, is that one of the first programs that we ever created, or one of the first things we ever did, started right here at Central Middle School. The library that we're sitting in now used to be in a hallway. And we actually started the first library here from my foundation, the Will to Succeed Foundation. So it's great to be able to come full circle and see that now you have a full-fledged library to learn as much as you can do, because beforehand it used to just be in the hallway. And I had the honor of meeting one of the students that is here that's graduated, that now works in the law offices in the NFL league office about 2 years ago at the Super Bowl. So you have a graduate that is representing you guys the best you can be. So first of all, thanks a lot for having me. And I look forward to talking to you guys about different things of how we ended up getting to where we are today.
Sounds like somebody's in trouble.
Yeah, always. As long as it's not me, I'm fine.
We're going to start with our questions now. For our question and answer portion, we're going to be going not only to our students here in front of us at Central Middle School, but we're going to be going to every school that we have tuned in today. So when I say your school name, go ahead and get your student ready to ask a question. We'll control everything on our end. Just have that student come up to the camera, and we'll tell you when you're ready to go. So without further ado, we're going to start with our students right here at Central Middle School. We had a great question that I told that we weren't allowed to answer before because it was a great question. So go ahead, sir, state your name, what grade you're in, and then ask your question.
My name is Devani. I'm in 7th grade, and I just wanted to ask, how do you think teamwork teaches you about life?
You know, the cool thing about being on a team is the simple fact that you all have your roles to play. And that's what makes it hard, is the simple fact of learning what your role is. Anybody that likes basketball, you know that there's only 5 players on the court and there's only 1 ball. So you only have so many opportunities to get your plays in to do the different things that you need to do, but you need those role players to be a part of it. And not all of us is going to be that person that can, you know, run and catch and do all the other things that the other players can do, which is, you know, even more important for me being an offensive lineman. My job was more or less to elevate everyone else around me. So my job was to push, prod, and everything else to let all the other guys get the accolades for actually scoring the touchdowns. So it teaches you a lot of being humble at sometimes, but also being supportive even if you're not on the field, but also understanding that you're not always going to get along with each other. Every day is not going to be the same. And you're going to have ups and downs and different turmoils, but when it comes out to the outcome of what you're trying to do, you have to sacrifice some things to get to that goal that you want to be at.
You mentioned when we started, you were a 3rd round draft pick out of Nebraska. Looked at the draft, pulled some stats. There were 11 linemen selected before you. Willie Roaf, teammate, also a Hall of Famer from that group.
Yeah.
Excluding his career, the other 10 offensive linemen had a combined 5 Pro Bowls. You went to 12.
Yeah.
Right? 12?
Yeah.
All right. I got myself.
Yep, you got it right.
And that there were 4 Hall of Famers from that 93 draft, including yourself and Willie Roaf. So coming out as a 3rd round draft pick, was there a chip on your shoulder? Or Was there some motivation behind you? You know, all these teams passed on you. Was there a motivation to kind of step up and show, I should have been that first one selected?
Well, it actually worked out best for me to be drafted in the third round because it did put that chip on my shoulder. It did put that anger of having to prove yourself all over again. Also, that year that I was coming out, I'd actually won the Outland Trophy, which is given to the best interior lineman in college football. So the thought was, if you win that, you get an opportunity. You should be a first-round pick or a second-round pick. But when the team's passed you, you sort of sit back and you look at it and go, okay, what do you do next? Well, it was fortunate the Chiefs didn't have a draft pick in the first and second round. So I ended up sort of being their first-round draft pick, even though it was a third-round pick. But at that point, the chip on my shoulder was making the other 32 teams or 31 teams pay for not drafting me. And so it gave me that extra boost, that extra push, that extra want to prove to people over again that you deserve to be there. And so that's why sometimes when things don't happen the way you want them to, you have to look at the other side and say, how is it going to push you or make you better down the road? And what are you going to use it for? Are you going to use it as, well, they're against me, so I can't do it, so I quit? Or is it going to be that point of, I'm going to use it as fuel or fire to get to the next level?
All right, we're going to go to our first school here is Meadow Lane Elementary, which you have a very special connection with.
Yes, I do.
So go ahead and have your student step up to the microphone. We'll pop up on your screen here and go ahead and ask your question.
My name is Macy Ray. I'm in the 5th grade, and my question is, what character trait helped you be the most successful in football?
She said, what character trait helped me be the most successful in football? Ooh, that's a tough one. I think it's probably consistency as well as perseverance. And the reason I say that is because I was one of those guys that wanted to be consistently the same across the board. So day in, day out, I wanted to be the same person you saw and be able to work. But also being able to persevere through anything that happens and always see the positive light in it, to be able to say, okay, this didn't happen my way today, but I can learn from it to get better for what the future holds. So I think those two pieces of character sort of helped me, and it helps yourself push through to what's next.
All right, we're going to throw it to our next school, back from my neck of the woods, back there in Ohio, Valley Elementary, for our next question. So go ahead, have your student step up close to that microphone and go ahead and ask your question for Mr. Shields. We have somebody there. Oh, there I see somebody. Whenever you're ready. All right, if you could, can you guys unmute your microphone there for me at Valley?
How hard was it to stay in shape in the off season?
All right, okay. Bud, go ahead and ask that one more time.
I heard it.
How hard was it to stay in shape in the off season?
How hard was it to stay in shape during the off season? Well, for me, I think because I wasn't the fastest, the strongest, I had to stay in very good shape. So I had the 2-week rule. So I would take 2 weeks of not working out. And basically after that, I would start training again for the next season, because I knew that there was always a young guy in college that was working to try to take my job. And so I think that was one thing that I always sort of took myself as being a prideful thing, that I would always be in the best shape as any offensive lineman that we had. So I would take the 2 weeks off, and then I'd start doing small things and working my way up so that I would always be in the best shape that I could be, regardless of when we started our off-season conditioning.
All right, our next question is going to come from down south in Texas. We're going to go to the Prince of Peace Catholic School. I believe we have Ms. Bowman's class ready to ask a question.
Hey, so how can young people build their character? What advice can you give to help young people build their character?
Yes, sir.
Well, in a young age, you got to think about this, is that you have to, the hard part is learning patience as a young age, because we want what we want. We're used to asking that question of, can I have, can I get, can I want? But the question is how can we work our way through that and understand that it's not just about my life and what I'm doing. How do I make it better for everyone in the room? How do I make it better for everyone? And each day, find one thing that you can make better across the board. And to me, that'll make you a better person as you get older, because then you'll understand more. And then you'll understand how each one thinks a little differently, but also to help you grow as an individual. So that to me is something that's very important, is trying to understand, okay, each day I'm going to pick one thing to make better within the group. And if I can do that, then I can understand more. So as I become an adult, I have a better worldview, not just my own world of what I do on a day-to-day basis.
All right, thanks for that question. Our next time we're going to go out west to California to the Shelley Bayard School. Go ahead and have your students step up to the microphone there in Miss Steele's class and then ask your question. All right, we're going to skip that school. And we're going to go to our next one. We're going to go to Holly Elementary up there in New York for our next question. So go ahead and have your student walk up there to the microphone, state their name, what grade they're in, and then ask your question.
My name is Blake Coleman. I am at the Holly Elementary and I'm in 6th grade. My question is, how did you inspire yourself before the game?
How do you inspire yourself?
How do you inspire yourself before the game? You know, I am one of those guys that most people would say is a little different. When I get ready to play a game, I actually have to listen to slow music to sort of calm myself down. If I listen to anything that gets me hyper or hype or whatever, then I play worse because I'm jittery and I'm ready to go. I'm too amped up. So I'm one of those guys that have to calm myself down. But to prepare for the game beforehand, I would actually read through my playbook the night before I went to bed. And that's how I prepared myself. I'd read all the little nuances, all the little things that I'd written down for that week. So like when you get ready for your test, right before you go to sleep, read all the little information you can read, the little notes you've done. And then when you wake up the next day, you'll feel a little more prepared. That's the way I sort of had to prepare myself for a game. And so I had to calm myself down to make sure I remembered all the little things, so I didn't get all amped up and go, okay, I'm just going to go out and do this, this, and this, and then forget something that I could have learned by watching film or actually studying or something like that the day before. So that's sort of how I did it before I played, compared to some guys that could listen to whatever they needed to get amped up and ready to go. Actually, I went to sleep and had them wake me up 5 minutes before the game to go out and play.
That's crazy. We're now going to go to Knoxville, Tennessee, to South Knoxville Elementary School with Dr. Nicely there. So it looks like she's got her students ready to go. So go ahead and ask your question.
Can't hear you.
Let's do it.
There you are.
There we go. We got you.
Hello, Mr. Shields. My name is Harper. I'm from SKE in Knoxville, Tennessee. And my question is, do you have any advice for our team, UT Vols? We are still cheering them on. And if you are in Knoxville, we would be honored for you to come see us.
Oh, nice.
So you're
nice.
there in Knoxville.
There in Knoxville. and we just sort of talked about that. Even here at Arrowhead, we lost last night. So we understand that feeling. And they say, how do we keep cheering for our team even though they're not playing how they want to play? So the way that works is you got to find the positive things out of that group, and that's the hard part. But there's always things to learn from. And so for you to cheer on that team is actually find out, what are those positive things? Where can you learn from, and where can we grow as a team and go, yeah, we didn't win the game, but our quarterback played really well this week. All right, such and such didn't do this, but they did this. So you find all the positives in it and know that, hey, we're working towards the goal of getting better each week. So we have to look at all the little things that we can add to it. And so instead of we used to have a guy that used to say the words, fact is figure, figure is fact. And the way that works is you can always find the good figures, that fact, to make you feel positive about what you're doing. So you have to look at those and compare them, and that's how you can keep your team still in the forefront. And even though you might have a rough season here and there, there's always, they say, it's always the next game. There's always the next season. There's always the off season to sort of say that's when we're going to get better. And we're going to look at, hey, did they get new recruits? Hopefully that new recruit, we can help them get better. And so those are all the things you have to look at and try to look at the positive compared to going, yeah, we're having a rough season. Believe you me, I understand that. University of Nebraska, we've had some rough seasons. And so we're still trying to get them over the hump. So, you're still a fan, you're still a part of it, but look at the positive things that they're building in there and understand that.
So, we are in a middle school today. And, one of the topics you see throughout the entire country is, a real hot topic today is bullying in schools.
Yeah.
We know bullying is something that doesn't matter if you're 16 or 60, if you're a kid in middle school or you have a gold jacket, it doesn't stray away or doesn't pick favorites.
Yeah.
From a, if you were to see somebody, you're walking down the hallway, maybe you're in the locker room and you see somebody being bullied, what is one key piece or what is one thing you would tell students or adults even to do in order to stop that from taking place?
Well, part of it, it's okay to be protective. It's okay to be a part of the solution, not part of the issue. It's okay to say, hey, we need to make a difference. This is not right. Hey, can you guys separate? Diffuse it. And if you're not the person to diffuse it, communicate it to someone else that can. And make sure you can have them help them get to where they need to be to feel like they're in a safe place. And so if you're not that person that can step in and say, hey, I don't want to be the next one bullied, then you still need to communicate that to someone that can take a positive role and actually change the outcome.
Staying along that same topic, school plays a major important role. You find your lifelong friends and you set yourself up for life down the road. How important was school and having a commitment to school, coming to school every day, getting good grades? How important was that in developing, gold jacket Will Shields?
It was very important. I think it was one thing that developed a change of different things of what you want to accomplish as you go through. Actually, I just pulled out an old letter that it was like from my high school that said, hey, you're one of 8 students that made it through every day of school. And so, for me to actually still have that and still hold that is something that was very important to me, that you have the opportunity of learning every day and growing every day. So you have to make it part of a positive and not a negative. And I think that's the hard part for all of us to understand, that it is a positive to be able to grow every day as you go to school and find 1 or 2 things that you can make better.
So we've mentioned now the term gold jacket a few times. You're showing off your ring to some of the students here before we got started. So just for all those folks we have watching today, when you become a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you get 3 iconic pieces. You get the Haggard gold jacket that Will's got on today, the Kay Jewelers Ring of Excellence that you have on today that Chiefs Johnny Robinson and Tony Gonzalez got during halftime of the game last night. But probably the most iconic piece that you see is the bronze bust that goes on display at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Those bronze busts are going to last 40,000 years right there in Canton, Ohio, your second home. So right now, back in Canton, Ohio at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we've got Jim McCriss, who's the voice of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's going to talk a little bit about what that bronze bust means and why Mr. Shields here has one of those bronze busts. Jim, are you there?
I am, Jake. Thank you. We are here in the Bronze Bust Gallery inside the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And as you can see, there are a lot of busts here, 326 to be exact, including our class of 2019. And just how hard is it to get one of these busts? Here's a little perspective for you. Do you know there have been over 300 million people to play football at all levels? And of those 300 million, 5 million went on to play collegiately. From those 5 million, a mere 29,000 ever went on to play, coach, or administer the game at any level. And of those 29,000, just 326 can call themselves Hall of Famers, including Will Shields. Will is a 6'3", 320-pound guard out of Nebraska. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 1993 NFL Draft by the Kansas City Chiefs and placed in the lineup in his first NFL game after the team's starting left guard, Dave Zahn, suffered an injury. He started every game from that point through his retirement after the 2006 season. Shields never missed a game during his 14-season career. 224 games played, 223 starts, all franchise records. He earned his first Pro Bowl berth following the 1995 season and embarked on a string of 12 straight Pro Bowl berths that ran through the end of his career. He was named first-team All-Pro in 1999, 2002, and 2003. and was picked a second-team All-Pro choice 4 other times. Shields was named All-AFC 7 times, including each of his final 6 seasons. He was the anchor of an offensive line that helped the Chiefs field potent offenses. The team led the NFL in points scored in 2002 and again in 2003, highlighted by running back Priest Holmes' then record 27 rushing touchdowns. In 1994, he and his line mates established a franchise record by allowing a mere 19 sacks. He is a member of the NFL's All-Decade team of the 2000s and joined fellow teammate Hall of Fame linebacker Derek Thomas in 1999 as the only active players to be named to the Chiefs' 40th anniversary team. As you can tell, Will Shields has a career well deserving of a bust here in Canton. Jake, back to you.
Thanks, Jim. Out of all the things you've got to do since you've got that gold jacket, what has kind of stood out as maybe the coolest moment or the moment that made you the most proud after you got to put that gold jacket on?
I think it's actually when we got to walk the gauntlet. Basically, when you get your jacket, you get a chance to walk the gauntlet and see all the guys that came before you. And to me, that was one of the biggest honors because it's all the guys I watched play. So I got to emulate these guys when I was your age, to pretend like I'm those guys making moves, and like now as your Tariq Hills and all of those. That's what we would do. But to be able to be in a room with those guys was really unique.
All right, we're going to go back to our students right here in front of us at Central Middle School for our next question. Do we have a student here who's got a question? Go ahead. Favorite team growing up?
Favorite team? My mom was a Dallas Cowboy fan. So we followed Dallas. I was in Oklahoma. That was where we grew up. So Dallas was really big. My next door neighbor, his was the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that was his favorite team. And it still follows him today, even though I played for the Chiefs. He's still a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But, yeah, so it was probably, Dallas and those guys that we watched on a week-in, week-out basis.
Was there a specific guy you talked about, walking through that gauntlet and seeing guys that you watched? Was there a specific guy you may have had growing up that you're like, that's my guy?
There's a lot of them in there. And that's what's really cool is that each year we have the luncheon.
Yep.
And so I sit with different guys at the luncheon. And so this year I got a chance to sit next to – who's that guy that guaranteed a Super Bowl win?
What, quarterback?
Yeah.
Played for the Jets?
Yeah,
I think his name was Joe Namath?
Yeah, Joe Namath. And so I got the chance to sit at his table. And he sat there and he was like, so how'd you get at this old people table? And I was like, well, I pick a different table every year. But this was actually perfect because he was the last one to sit down. And I said, I get to learn all the stories from each guy each year. And now I get to learn the history of the game and watch these guys interact with each other because he's next to his teammate that he played with. And so they still gravitate back to the guys that they've spent time with and they've won championships with or they fought together with and they did different things together. And it's watching them gravitate back to each other. And to me, that's one of the coolest things about it. So regardless if you're apart a year or 2 years, once you come back in that room, it's just like you never left.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go back to our students there in Kansas at Meadow Lane Elementary for our next question. So go ahead, get your students ready. Go ahead and step up to the microphone and ask your question here for Mr. Shields. Be nice and loud.
What made you start to love football and work hard to make it to the NFL?
What made you start to love the game?
I love football since I was a little kid. My brother actually introduced us to the game early. We used to play street ball, basically, 2 blocks is first down, that kind of thing. And from that point, I just knew I was going to gravitate to it. It was a sport that I've loved since I was, I'd say, 6 years old. And the reason I say 6 is because the first pamphlet I ever have is actually me up playing on a 9-year-old team, and I was 6. So that tells me that it was something that's been in my blood since I was at least that young.
Now, you talk about playing a game as a youth, but everybody that makes it to the NFL kind of has that welcome to the NFL moment. Is there a specific moment that stands out to you that goes, all right, I'm here now?
Yeah, it was. Basically, one of our first practices when we were there, we used to have training camp in River Falls, Wisconsin. So we used to travel away for training camp. We're sitting here, and they throw me in the huddle. They throw me out there, and Joe Montana's back here. He's changing plays, and he's doing stuff. And we run a play, and I'm looking at the linebacker, and the linebacker turns his back to me. And when he turns his back to me, I turn my eyes out to help somebody here on the left or somebody on the right. Next thing you know, he's hitting Joe in the back, down the field, in the backfield. And from that point on, the first thing they say is never turn your eyes away. And that's when I learned there's so many fast guys. There's so many smart guys. There's so many little nuances to the game that I don't know that got that learning curve. So then I just started to absorb everything I could and learn as much as I can from any other player that I watched or played with. And so to me, that was that learning point of like, you don't know it all. You're just here as a beginner, and you've got so far to go to get to where you want to be. The second piece was the first time we ever had a inner scrimmage with another team. It was against the Minnesota Vikings. And that was when I was introduced to John Randall, which is also another Gold Jacket. And he had 4 other teammates, and 3 of the 4 are in the Hall of Fame right now. And facing that line basically set the tone for my career of what I wanted to be and how I wanted to be. Basically, they embarrassed me so bad that I knew I had to work so much harder to be that much better. And so to me, that was really that turning point within my first training camp that sort of set the tone of where I wanted to be and how to do it.
All right, we're going to go out to our next school now, Valley Elementary back in good old Ohio for our next question. So go ahead and have your student walk up there to the microphone and ask her question. Looks like you're still muted there on your end. All right, speak nice and loud for us. All right, so it doesn't look like, it looks like we can't hear you. So we're gonna move on now. We'll come back to you. We're gonna move on to our next school. Is back down to Plano, Texas, the Prince of Peace Catholic School for our next question.
How do you feel the leadership roles on the football field and in the business world are similar?
That's a good question.
How does leadership on the football field and the business world are similar? Well, I think what's really cool about it is that the simple fact that you get a chance to watch from 2 different levels. So if you're a true leader on the field, then you can curtail that to the business world. Now, what's hard about it is that you didn't grow up in the business world. So you're going to have to learn how to become that person that delegates, as well as understand to basically be able to research and understand all the processes and procedures, because most businesses come back to processes and procedures. And if you're playing the game of football, it's the same difference. What process, what steps do I take to get this guy to move so far so that I can win? And so it's the same in business as it is on the field. And so for being a business owner, it's the process of how do I get other people to do what I need to get done? And that comes back to those roles. How many people can I keep in this role long enough to get you to the next level? And then once I get you that next level, is it okay for me to let you move to that next level to become the starter compared to a backup? And you do use the same principle in the business world as you do as playing sports.
All right, thanks for that question. It was a great question. We're going to go now to New York, to Holly Elementary School for our next question. So go ahead and have your students step up to the microphone, state your name, what grade you're in, and then ask your question.
Hi, my name is Josh. If you were not an NFL player, what would you want to be?
If you could be one NFL player, who would you want to be?
Who would I want to be as an NFL player if I wasn't myself?
I think Will Sheila is a good answer.
Myself would be cool. I don't know. Barry Sanders would be pretty cool now.
That would be.
To have those moves and to be able to do that stuff, that would be pretty cool, at least for a little while.
All right, we're going to bring it back here to our students at Central Middle School for our next question. So if you go ahead and ask, we're going to go right here for our next question. Yep, go ahead.
How important do you feel accountability is on the
Accountability, that's a tough one. Accountability is one that you have to have on and off the field because each individual is accountable for certain things. And that's what makes a big difference. And if you're not able to do what you need to do to get to a certain goal, then that's what kills the whole vibe. Let's say I've got a guy that, your job is we're playing a game and there's a guy out here and he's supposed to run a specific route. If he doesn't run that specific route at a specific time, our quarterback has to wait for him to get open. If he has to wait for him to get open, that means I've got to block longer. And if I got to block longer and I can't hold that block, then the play falls apart. So the accountability falls not only from the guy that snaps the ball, the guy that catches the ball and throws the ball, everything is off timing. And so to me, on and off the field, it makes a difference. So if you're actually accountable for the things you do off the field, it'll make you even more accountable for the things you do on the field. That's why they say grades are important for you to be on the field, because if you don't have the right grades, you can't play. Because we know it's important to have one to go with the other.
Now, accountability is something that applies, like you said, to life both on and off the field. They get out an award every year in the NFL. It's called the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. That has to do with, service that players in the NFL give in their time off the field. You won that award in 2003.
Yeah.
What does that award mean to you to win that, especially being named after a guy like Walter Payton?
Well, to me, I think it's not only my award. I think it's an award that sort of shows what Kansas City has embraced in us as being players. The year I came in, there was 16 guys doing things in the community. And I saw it as a opportunity for me to be what they call a pillar, to be where these other guys. So it's my commitment to be a part of the group. Every guy that had a program in the community had been in the league for over 5 to 7 years. And so I wanted to be a part of that group. I wanted to be a person that said, I'm going to set my feet here on the ground and be a part of this group, community, and everything else. Now, what's really cool about it is that Kansas City embraced it and made it easier for us to do things and to support other people and programs here in the Kansas City market. And to me, I call it a Kansas City award, not just mine, because they helped support everything that ended up getting me that award. So, it is an honor to say that, Walter Payton, that did so much in his community, they named an award after him. And then we had the opportunity of sort of being a part of that as they brought it here back to Kansas City. But that makes you also look at it. I also held the rest of my team accountable, because every time I had an event, I would basically go, hey, I got an event next week. Can you guys show up for it? Can you guys be a part of it? And the greatest thing about it is that they all did. So that made us as a team closer.
Now you see some Hall of Famers, guys in the league today, play for a bunch of different teams. We also see a bunch who stay with one team their entire career like you did. What did this city mean to you, and why did you not feel like you had to stay here for your entire career, but why, more importantly, did you want to be in Kansas City for your entire career?
Well, it was one thing they gave you the opportunity to start with, because without that draft pick and that opportunity, you would have never had that chance to play at the next level. And then as you've been here for a while, you understand the people are important. And they're important to you just like vice versa. You're important to them. And the embrace they give you every time you hit the field or you do things in the community, it's hard to bypass. And, after you've been here for a while, you got kids here, everybody grows here, and it's just home. And that's the greatest thing about it. And that's what you love about it. It's because it's your home, it's your feeling, and you want everybody to understand and get a piece of that when you take it on the road with you.
I was lucky enough to be in Arrowhead yesterday for the Sunday night game, and you hear about atmospheres and teams and crowds, and I have never heard a stadium that loud for an NFL game in a long time. So it was definitely cool to kind of take in that Kansas City feel that you talked about.
They did well, and I still don't feel positive you got the full feel of it, because we had a lot of Green Bay fans there yesterday that shouldn't have been there.
They travel very well.
They travel very well, but I think if Mahomes would have played, it would have been a different, even a more bigger vibe. But, yeah, you got a little taste.
I got a taste. All right. We're going to go back to our students there at Meadow Lane Elementary School in Kansas for our next question. So go ahead and have your student there step up to the microphone, state their name, and then ask your question for Mr. Shields.
Okay. My name is Sophia Eckley, and I'm in 5th grade. My question is, as a child, what event helped you become the person you are today?
As a child, what helped me become the person I am today? As a child, what really helped me is that the simple fact that I had a good family life. I had a brother and a sister that basically gave me good advice about doing different things. Mom and dad that were, very strong. I did come from a military background, so my dad was in the Army. So it was one of those things that he set the tone every day of what we should do and what we shouldn't do and how we should do it. He was one of those guys, hey, if you're not up by 7 o'clock, you've wasted half the day. So that was one of those things that made you as a person think about different things, because all the things that they've done and accomplished help you grow as an individual. So at a young age, you sort of set the tone for us as far as you can accomplish a lot of different things as long as you put your heart, soul, and mind to it.
All right, thanks for that question. Our next question is going to come from our folks down there in Texas again at the Prince of Peace Catholic School. So go ahead and have your student roll up to the microphone there and ask your question here for Mr. Shields.
So, when you were a kid, did you ever take like a leadership role? And if so, what was it?
A leadership role. Oh, that was interesting. Well, the good thing about it is that I was always a lineman. So actually I played center in elementary. So that was when I actually sort of had my leadership role on the field. We had to basically dictate where we went, what we did, how we did it on the field. And then as we got a little older, I actually took a leadership role as far as being honor choir, as far as being a singer. So, at that point, I was leader of the bass group, and basically we picked out songs and did different things. So in those different realms, so those are the two times that, you sort of was the leader of the team and sort of pulled your group along.
A lot of people in today's game, their career does come to an end, whether it was in high school, college, or the NFL.
Yeah.
When your career was done, was there a part of the game that you miss now? And what was that transition like from playing so long in the NFL to, the next day it's you don't put the shoulder pads back on anymore?
Well, I think the thing that most people don't realize is that you're transitioning every day. Regardless if it's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, every day you're learning something new about yourself. And so when you first retire, you're going, oh, yeah, this is great. I don't have to get up this morning. My knees are not hurting as bad. My back is not as sore, those kind of things. But you do miss the atmosphere, being around the guys, being part of the group. But as you get older, you start looking at it and you flinch more now when you're seeing guys get hit. He was like, oh, man, I used to do that for a living? That's crazy, But, I think that's part of it. And every day you transition, you grow as you get older because you learn new things. And as long as you're learning new things and you're growing, you're constantly transitioning. And so I think that's one thing you have to understand. You never totally transition out of the game because it's always something that's part of your life.
Yeah, something, too, you can apply to – you don't have to be a football player.
Exactly.
You're transitioning every day as a teacher, as a student, whatever it might be. So we're going to go up to New York now to Holly Elementary School there. Go ahead and have your next student step up to the microphone, speak nice and loud for us, and ask your question when you're ready.
My name is Heaven. I'm in 6th grade. How did you choose your number? What does 68 mean to you?
How did I choose my number? What does 68 mean to me? The cool thing about it, the weird thing about it, I should say, when I was in college, I started with number 59. I don't know how I got that number. And then I ended up going from there to 75. And then when I got to the pros, you show up in your locker and there was a 68 there. And I wanted 75. So I was thinking about, should I try to find out who has it and see if I could get it from him? And then I looked over and there was a guy named Joe Phillips, and he had played like 7 years in the league or 8. And he was a guy that had this scruffy beard and everything else. And make it so bad, he's a lawyer by trade. But if you looked at him, you'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to ask him for that number. So I sort of figured I'd take that number 68 and try to make it the best it could be. So, yeah, that's how it ended up going. It's like, they gave me that number, and I think I'm trying to make it the best it could be. So that's how I came up with the number 68.
We're looking through some stuff throughout my research before we got here today. Yeah. I got a list I want to read off here. Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2015. College Football Hall of Fame in 2011, 2003 Walter Payne Man of the Year Award winner, Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame in 2012, Outland Trophy winner in 1992, jerseys retired by the University of Nebraska. You were on the College All-Century team, NFL All-Decade team, 12 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros, first team All-Pros. Pretty decent career.
Not bad. Not bad. And then at the end, they finally put me in the Oklahoma Hall of Fame.
There's finally. What do all those honors mean to you?
I think it just sort of says that you had a career. I used to have a coach that says you don't really understand it until you can actually say you have a career. He was trying to get us young guys to understand we have to prove ourselves year in and year out. And so he goes, look, you could be a flash in the pan kind of guy that's only there for 2 to 3 years, which is the average, 3.5. Or you could be somebody that when you're done, people look at you and they say, wow, he had a career of what he did and how he did it and what he accomplished. And I think, that's the toll I can say, is that it was a really great career, great run. There was a lot of things that we got a chance to do and see. and you're honored about it. And now you're going, okay, how do I build on that and create the next piece, the next career that's just as good, just as talented as the first one.
All right, we're going to go to our next question. We're going to try and go back to Valley Elementary School there, see if we can get you working. So go ahead and have a student step up to the microphone. Get yourselves unmuted there, and we'll try this again.
Hello, my name is Zoe. My question is, football is many times referred to as an ultimate team sport. How do you think teamwork teaches you about life?
What does teamwork teach you about life?
You know, I think teamwork itself is very important. I think it's very tough because the simple fact, we can do a lot of things on our own. Individually, we can figure out certain things, but being able to work together as a group is always one of those things that's hard because you got to give and get at the same time. You know, because we all think, oh, well, I can do this and do that, and it's time. And, you know, but you have to figure out how to play those different roles and how to support each other, even when one person's struggling. And I think that's the hard part as far as being a team. Because, you know, there are going to be those days that somebody has a bad game. There's going to be a day that somebody's off a little bit. But how do you build them back up? How do you bring them back into the fold? How do you get them to where you know they should be? And I think that's something about teamwork that's a part of it that's really hard.
All right, so we just got a few more minutes here, and in a couple minutes, this school's bell is going to go off. So we're gonna mute our microphones tonight. Everybody else has to hear the bell here. So if you don't hear any sound here in a few minutes, that's why. But first question here is: do you feel, growing up, you already said you played sports, played football. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that helps you become a better person and stay out of trouble as a youth when you were playing those sports?
Of course. I think it's one of those things that you always looked at more or less of you'll be held more accountable than others because of what you do. And to me, that makes you make those decisions that are a little smarter and a little harder than most people, because you want it to be the person that everyone looked forward or looked to go, well, I know that guy is going to take care of this. That guy is going to make sure that this person makes it home. That guy is going to be the one that does the right thing because he knows the consequences on the other side. So you always have to be that safeguard. Yeah. And you always have to guard yourself because you don't know who else around you will do something that could totally mess up your career. And that's the hard part. And especially being in this day and age to where everybody has a cell phone and has contact and has everything else, you have to be more careful now than any time. Because the simple fact of it is that everyone's watching. Everybody's looking for somebody else to make that mistake and to do different things. Or, you know, something that somebody else might think is funny. And yours, it could be something that could come back to haunt you 5 years or 10 years down the road. So to me, that's one of those things you have to look at and try to understand. That's why the choices are very tough. And you have to do it on a day-to-day basis.
Now you feel like that, and we're probably about 30 seconds to hear from the bell. Do you feel like that transitioned to your pro career as well? Some of those same life lessons that you learned? Oh,
definitely. Because the simple fact of it is you're always that person that goes, yeah, I don't want to hear that ESPN done behind my name ever, and unless it's something positive. So at that point, you have to sort of dictate what you do, when you do it, how you do it, and those kind of things, because that's the most important thing is your brand, and that's what you're building.
All right. Bell just going off. We'll be back here in 1 second. All right, so bell is done ringing. Last thing we want to end with today, and it's the way I like to end all these programs, is for everybody watching, whether it's on Facebook Live here in this school or if it's somebody else just got in trouble. What is one piece of advice you want to leave everybody tuning in today with? One piece of advice.
One piece of advice is make sure that you are the best you can be, and also that you're going to build on it. That to me is very important. And also the other piece is remember the choices you make can affect the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. To me, that's really the biggest key is make sure you make those positive choices.
All right. I can't think of a better way to end our program today. I'd like to thank Gold Jacket Will Shields for taking some of your free time to come to school today, from myself, our department in the youth education department, all the way up to our president, David Baker at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Thanks for all you've done for the Hall of Fame and all you've done for the game of football. We appreciate you coming out here today. Thanks to all the students, all the staff that allowed us to come into their classroom today. We appreciate you allowing us to be a part of your classroom today. And for everybody out there, we hope to see you at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio one day. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.